Okay, I see by the clock on the wall that it is 3 o'clock. Time to call to order the Board of Directors regular meeting agenda for Monday, November 21st. Could I have a could I have a roll call, please?
Director Griffith,
Present.
Director Grasha,
Here.
Director Sewell,
Here.
Vice President Wright,
Here.
President Martin.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
We all stand, and Ivan, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hand over your heart. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nancy, would you lead us in some inspirational?
I sure will. My mic here on. Okay. We ask the Heavenly Father in thy infinite wisdom to guide the members of this board in such a way that all their thoughts, endeavors, and decisions will be made for the betterment of the entire community. We also beseech thee to protect our country and our people from all conflicts, both foreign and domestic. Amen.
Amen. Counselor, would you brief us on rules of procedure, please?
Yes, according to the rules of procedure adopted by this Board of Directors, all noticed meetings are conducted using Rosenberg's Rules of Order as a procedural guideline. Directors should refrain from responding directly to comments from the public during meetings of the board. The president of the board presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on the subject shall have been given an opportunity to speak. No board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting. The board president regulates the amount of time to be dedicated to a particular agenda item.
Thank you. Item 5, public input. This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within the board's jurisdiction. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. State law prohibits the board from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak?
Not for public comment per se, President Martin, but Pamela Edmondson does have some holiday wishes. Pamela? Pamela, are you ready? *6 to unmute, Pamela. Okay, we'll come back to her, President Martin.
Okay, that's fine. Employee recognition, human resources report, item 6. We have a number of people here. Brian, do you want to kick things off?
Sure. Thank you, President Martin. With Arden out today, I get the pleasure of handling today's HR report and introducing some of our dedicated and loyal MSWD employees. We do not have any new hires to share for the month of October, but we do have 7 anniversaries to celebrate this month. They represent more than roughly 30 years of service to the district and to the communities we serve. The first person I'd like to talk about is our engineering department administrative assistant, Jeannie Baver, who has been with the district for just over a year. She has a very positive, energetic attitude and always looks for ways to improve efficiencies within the engineering front office. She is the initial point of contact with the public and always tries to provide good customer service. Here to introduce Jeannie is Engineering Manager Eric Weck. Eric?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, President Martin and members of the board. Jeannie actually started here as a temporary employee and was hired last October in 2021 as a full-time employee as a administrative assistant for the engineering department. Here she processes a multitude of sewer and water applications, interfaces on a daily basis with the public, answering questions and coordinating contracts. She's also responsible for coordinating and processing several plan checks, landscape installation, inspections, and certificates of completion, will serve letters, and conditions of approval. And that's just the tip of the iceberg as to what Jeannie does. We're all excited here to have Jeannie complete her first year at MSWD, and with her positive attitude, she can bring value to the district. Thank you.
Eric, does Jeannie want to say anything?
No, sir. I mentioned this, and she will not be saying anything.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, next, we'd like to honor our lead field operations technician, Alex Escovedo, who has been with the district for over 3 years. Alex's coworkers describe him as someone they can rely on upon urgent tasks quickly, is on time, no matter what he gets thrown into or his way. He is a very committed team player and routinely goes out of his way to offer guidance and advice to make his teams better. My experience with Alex has been tremendous. I know he's got a strong background in maintenance of traffic and other things, and he's looking forward this weekend to participating with his family going bike riding, motorbike riding. Unfortunately, Jeff Nutter could not be here today to do his introduction, but I will. Alex, would you like to say a couple of things?
No, thank you. Just thank you for the last 3 years.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Alex. Next, we would like to honor wastewater treatment plant operator 2, David Weaver, who has been with the district for over 3 years. Pleasure to work with David, performs various tasks involving monitoring, regulating, maintaining, and operating wastewater facilities. He has transitioned from collections, where he started. He's been greatly expanded his knowledge from the treatment side of the department, and he is actively working on getting his grade 3 certification. Here to introduce David is Chief Plant Operator Lee Boyer. Lee?
Thank you, Assistant General Manager Macy. Good afternoon, President Martin, members of the board. Yeah, David actually started out as our collections lead 3 years ago, and in the past year, there was an opportunity for him to come over to the treatment side. So he quickly got his grade 2, skipped his grade 1, got his grade 2 and passed it. Planning to take his grade 3, and the goal is that he's looking to become the lead operator for the Horton plant in the next year or so, with the regional plant coming online. So David's a great asset to the district. He brings a lot of knowledge from the collection side that I can rely on to pass on the young department we have there. And David is learning on the treatment side, and like I said, he's a great asset to have on staff. David?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity and look forward to many more years of service.
That's probably the least I've ever heard him speak. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Next, we would like to honor our water production operator 2, Tim
You
Owens.
skipped one.
Did I?
Yeah, you.
It's not on my sheet. If it's not on my sheet, I didn't even realize
Oh.
I didn't look. I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I didn't realize I was on the report. I was just looking at the slide presentation, so
Okay,
I appreciate that.
you're forgiven. Go ahead.
Okay, Tim Owens. Yes, he has been with the district for 4 years. Tim continues to prove that he is a water professional production, continue to prove that he is a water production operator. He has general knowledge of all water-related subjects and makes him a vital team member of the production team. You may remember that Tim received his water treatment operator certificate earlier this year, proving that he's continually working on expanding his knowledge and serving our customers. Here to introduce Tim is our water production and maintenance foreperson, Chad Finch. Chad?
Thank you, Assistant General Manager Brian Macy and members of the board. I just wanted to bring obviously the attention of our satisfaction of Tim Owens, and just a pleasure that he is to work with on our team. He is an important member of our production staff, and I wish he was here to say something with us right now, but he's actually out with some of our contractors as we're working on some of our well sites right now. So he's not here to say anything, but we're very appreciative of his labor, his effort, and just his knowledge as an important member of the team.
Excellent. Thank you, Chad. Next, we'd like to honor our lead wastewater treatment plant operator, Andy Bennett, who has been with the district for over 6 years. Andy is a great employee to have on staff. He takes care of daily operations at the Horton plant, is constantly working and training others in the department to get them to the next level. He is also in the process of trying to get his great operator 4 so he can help us with the regional plant once it comes online next year. Here to introduce Andy is our Chief Plant Operator, Lee Boyer. Lee?
Thank you, Assistant General Manager Brian Macy. Good afternoon, President Martin, again, and members of the board. Yeah, Andy has been here 6 years, and we brought him on board, no knowledge, and in a short little 6-year time frame, he is passed his collections, his grade 1 through 3 operator. He's studying for his grade 4, which is a little challenge. He actually took his test, didn't pass it, but he's already going through the 2 inches of study material he has, so he can pass it again as next opportunity. He's my right hand. He and I, we run the plant together, and we make sure the plant's running as smoothly as it can. And I appreciate everything Andy does for us. So Andy?
I appreciate all the opportunities too, and all the years of service for you guys. And I hope to have a couple more or a whole bunch more years of service to help you guys out and be there for everyone in the whole team at MSWD. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Andy. We appreciate all you do for us. It's amazing watching you and David grow as individuals and working down at the Horton plant. Next, we would like to honor our customer service manager, April Scott, who has been with the district for the past 6 years. During that time, April is instrumental in developing our new customer service portal and other customer service programs and offerings. Before joining MSWD, she was responsible for developing customer service experience strategies at a high-end national retailers, including Diesel and Sephora. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, April. Her understanding of customer behavioral patterns and engagement has made April an integral member of the MSWD team. A driving force behind our operations, we are pleased to have April lead our customer service team. April, would you like to say a few words?
Always.
In customer service, we'd expect that.
Good afternoon, President Martin, members of the board. I just want to say thank you. It's an honor to serve the district as a member of the community. It's an honor to serve my fellow community members as well. I'm very grateful every day when I come to work. I love my job, and I hope that I can always do the best to serve this community. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add, she also has excellent taste in pulp fiction literature.
He's referencing something he wrote that I just read and enjoyed.
Okay. Go ahead.
Next, we would like to honor Executive Assistant Dory Petit. Has been with the district for the past 6 years as well, responsible serving both the board and the general manager's office. Dory's organizational skills and tenacity are unmatched. She takes pride in her work and is dedicated to the district and to the community. As you may recall, earlier this year, Dory was honored for her commitment during the Rotary's Big Heart Awards. Never one to shy away from a challenge, Dory serves as an inspiration to her coworkers, and we're proud to have her part of the team. Before I will open up the floor to her, for those of you that don't know, today is Dory's birthday. So it's 2 reasons to bring attention to Dory. Dory, do you have a few words?
Thank you, General Manager Macy, President Martin, and members of the board. I hate the attention, but thank you so much for the past 6 years. It has been an absolute pleasure to serve you and serve this district and this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dory. There are 2 other individuals that could not be with us today. One is Danny Friend and Jeff Nutter. We will talk about both of them at our next meeting.
Okay.
With that ends your report. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item 7, resolution 2022-27. A resolution of the Board of Directors of the Mission Springs Water District proclaiming a local emergency persists, re-ratifying the proclamation of a state of emergency by executive order Ann as in Nora 0921, and reauthorizing remote teleconference meetings of the legislative bodies of the Mission Springs Water District for the period November 23rd, 2022 to December 22nd, 2022, pursuant to the provisions of the Ralph M. Brown Act. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this matter? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, since this is relatively expiring soon, at the next board meeting, will we be discussing what the new law will be going forward?
Actually, I was planning to go over that in the general counsel's report today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board?
No
Okay,
comment, move the recommended action.
okay. Was that a motion? I couldn't hear you.
Yes, move the
Okay.
recommended action.
All right. Is there a second to the resolution?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Griffith,
Yes.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 8, letter of agreement for collaboration and cost sharing for the Mission Creek Subbasin Annual Report. Brian, do you have anything further on that issue that wasn't discussed on?
Thank you, President Martin. I do not Steve, do you have any comments or anything further to add?
No, nothing additional unless there are questions.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? No, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the general manager to execute the letter of agreement.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote?
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Item 9, resolution 2022-28, authorizing the filing of an application for a round 2 sustainable groundwater management implementation grant program for the Mission Creek Subbasin. Is there anything further on that matter, Brian?
Thank you, President Martin. I do not have anything more to add. Steve, do you have anything to add?
Nothing further. Thank you.
That concludes our report.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
No, but I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Item 10, approve change order number 1 with L.O. Lynch Quality Wells and Pumps Incorporated for an on-call well and booster maintenance and repair services. Brian, anything further?
Thank you, President Martin. Our Director of Operations gave a report on this on Thursday. We have nothing more to add.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board on this matter?
No questions.
Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the change order.
I'll move the item.
We have a motion and a second. Would you take a roll call vote, please?
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 11, approve change order number 1 with TriStar Contracting, the second incorporated for on-call sanitary sewer repair services on 1st Street, 4th Street, 6th Street, and 7th Street. Is there anything further on that matter?
Thank you, President Martin. Director of Operations gave the report on Thursday, highlighting many of the activities related to this contract and change order. We have nothing more to add.
Okay, is there any questions or comments from the board? Dr. Grasha?
No questions, no comments.
Okay. Anything from the rest of the board?
Yeah, I just say that the presentation given on Thursday was very informative, and I appreciate our staff being proactive and keeping an eye on things and fixing things before they get in too bad a shape. So thank you.
Okay.
And I will move the item.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, item number 12, acceptance of the Horton wastewater treatment plant influent pump station odor control system project. Anything further on that item?
Thank you, President Martin. Staff did give a a summary of this item on Thursday. Eric, do you have anything to add?
No, sir, I don't.
That concludes our report.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
No questions, no comments. Move the recommended action.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the treatment plant pump station system project. Any, have a roll call vote, please?
President Martin, I need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Thank you. Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Item 13, acceptance of acceptance of grant of easement deed for public water utility easement. Elvis Aranda, 15th Avenue, new water service. Is there anything further on that subject?
Thank you, President Martin. Staff did provide a report on this item on Thursday. Eric, do you have anything to add?
No, Assistant General Manager Macy, I don't. Everything's squared away.
Perfect. That concludes staff's report.
Any questions from the board? Director Grasha,
No questions, no comments.
rest of the board? No? Okay. Director Wright made the
I'll make a
motion.
motion to
Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Item 14, resolution number 2022-29, adoption of the Mission Springs Water District Injury and Illness Prevention Program. Anything further on that matter, Brian?
Thank you, President Martin. We did provide a report on this item on Thursday. Bassam, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add at this time, sir.
Great. Thank you very much. That concludes our report.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I have one. I didn't have a chance to read the original one. And I know that frequently, especially in California, these things are changing all the time. Is there any major additions or changes from the last one that we would want to be aware of?
Thank you, Director. Bassam, would you like to take that question?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, President Martin, members of the board. Director Griffith, there is no major updates. This is something that we continuously review and update and keep up to date. So no major updates were done.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move the item.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Item 15, First Amendment to Contract Agreement with Yost and Associates Incorporated for the Horton Wastewater Treatment Plant Technical Reports. Now, we did have a presentation on that on Thursday. However, there's been an additional information that was presented to me to be contained in there.
President Martin,
Yes.
before we start this item, I would like to recuse myself from item number 15.
Okay.
So there is no potential conflict of looking at any potential conflict of interest that may be a perception of due to my position on the Regional Water Quality Control Board, Colorado River Basin Region.
Okay.
So I will step out of the room and
All right. Thank you.
Yes, President Martin. This item was taken to the board and was approved by the board. Unfortunately, there was a grammatical issue with the total contract amount not exceeding. I believe General Manager Wallum talked about this on Thursday, but it is more of a housekeeping item to make sure that the not to exceed amount is the true $181,306 as in this particular staff report. I answer any questions regarding the issue.
Okay. So that additional information I got on, which was a substantial document, basically, there's no major change in the what was presented on Thursday.
No. What had happened is when we brought this staff report to you before, it was a increase, First Amendment to their contract, to their agreement. And what we did is we simply, if you look at the staff report and the way the title is, or excuse me, the paragraph description is worded, 144,000, bringing it up to 137,000. It had the original contract amount listed, not the 44,000 added to that, bringing it to the 181. So out of abundance of caution, we knew that the contract was approved, but the amount wasn't. So we were bringing this back to you to make sure that both the amount and the contract were approved.
Okay,
So sorry about that.
it's okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Director Grusha?
Could you explain, we started out with a contract at $44,000 and you're increasing it by 137,000. Is that what's happening?
Yes, that is correct.
What's the reason that we have such a substantial increase? Has there been demands put on the contract that haven't been mentioned, or what's going on with that? Why did it go from, that's quite a bump.
Steve, would you like to answer the specifics of the change in scope and how?
Certainly, Assistant. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Assistant General Manager Macy. Director Grasha, the original contract was to do a TDS impact evaluation work plan for the regional water reclamation facility. Once the new waste discharge requirement permit was approved for Horton, it also required a similar total dissolved solids impact evaluation work plan, and it included a nitrogen control strategy technical report. With West Yoast's expertise in that area, their assistance with the salt nutrient management plan for the basin, and their efforts on the TDS impact evaluation work plan for the regional plant, we felt it was best to use that same consultant to complete 2 additional plans for Horton of similar nature.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much. Very helpful. Move the recommended action.
Before we make the, is there anybody who has any other comments to make? Robert?
Yeah, I just also want to say, I also noticed in here, it increased the term of the contract from 8 months to 1 year and 7 months, correct? So that's what, about an 11-month extension?
Yes. With the new report, it's going to take them a little bit longer and get all the samples and stuff like that evaluated. So yes.
Thank you.
Both time and cost.
Ivan? Okay, we have a motion by Director Grasha. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright.
She had recused herself.
Oh, thank you. And President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to discussion items. Item 16, Mission Springs Water District Regional Water Reclamation Facility. Brian?
Thank you, President Martin. Mr. Ledbetter, do you have anything to add from your presentation on Thursday?
Nothing new to add from Thursday's presentation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board on that matter? Seeing none, I'll move on to item 17, Critical Services Center and Administrative Building Update.
Thank you, President Martin, members of the board. Yes, we'd like to give you a quick update of where we are with the building. We're getting very close to completed plans, contract documents and things like that, and looking forward to bidding the project next month. Before we did so, we wanted to give an updated schedule to the board, as well as answer any questions as we go through the bidding process. So Alvin, can you take it from here?
Good. Thanks, Brian. Good afternoon, President Martin, members of the board. Let me just pull up my screen. And as long as that goes up, can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. And so as Brian was mentioning, we're trying to give an update of where we are on the schedule. So before I get to where we are today, since I know there's a couple of new board members that we can kind of walk back to maybe about a year ago from today, where we visited a very similar facility that we had designed, the East Valley Water District. And that kind of was a good jumping off point for us to explain what's possible with the district and what another district with a similar program was able to achieve through working through design and working through their program. And so the first two major phases of this project walked through the feasibility and the schematic design, which outlined a master plan of what's possible, outlining also what the district needs are, and working through some of those bigger ideas and bigger design elements. And with that master plan, we were able to develop what you see here to the left. And taking this a step further, working through the design development and construction documents, we're able to work with the district staff and really dial in and hone how the facility will be used. I think in talking to Brian, we were able to kind of walk the different employees through maybe what their day would be like, as they pulled into the parking lot, got into their workstation, and being able to really try to understand and dial in everything to make sure that this facility will service them, service the community for many years to come. And that brings us to where we are today with the construction documents. As Brian mentioned, we're working our way toward preparing for the bid. So at the end of this month, early December, we're going to have those bid documents. And I just stepped out of a meeting earlier today where we worked through kind of that final stage of our side with the quality assurance and quality control. And again, really just finalizing that document and preparing it for bid. And we're looking to bid next month. We're also looking to set up another follow-up site visit to the East Valley facility again. And I know the district also visited the Palm Springs district office, another facility that we worked with that district to design and build. So again, two facilities that really can give everybody an idea of what can be attained working together and working through all the design processes, and really just kind of understanding kind of that end product, and also hopefully helping drive decisions and expectations at the same time. From there, once the bid is completed and brought to the board for selection, so we're aiming for the bids to be due in January and aiming to get that to the February board for selection and award. And then from there, looking at notice to proceed in the spring. And probably the first major operations that you're going to see on the site are mobilization and grading, getting that site prepped and ready to go for the next phase of foundations of next summer. And then after that, toward the fall, looking at being able to see the buildings really start going up, seeing the framing, and really get a good idea of the sense of the location, the size, and the general design of the facilities. And then looking to button everything up, get the envelope completed by the winter, so before the rains, so that way everything is more or less weatherized, and then we're ready to move into the interior construction sometime in spring 2024. And then from there, also working on the hardscape and the landscape, and then furniture coming in that summer as well. And right now, what we're tracking is maybe about a 14 to 16 month construction timeline. That's conservative based on where we're seeing the market conditions currently happening in terms of lead times. So that, again, we're hoping this is more conservative, and then there is a way to potentially make the schedule a little bit better and achieve everything a little bit faster. But right now, the way everything's working, this looks to be a good plan of attack. So are there any questions?
Any questions from the board? Director Grusha.
How do we get to going out to bid when we haven't even discussed how we're going to finance it? Yeah, it boggles the mind how irresponsible this district is reacting to these economic pressures that our public is under and this district is under with having to borrow money for a project that we've received supposed full grant funding for. It's scary that you guys would take this tact right after an election that was losing, I might add, for the board members that were up for reelection.
Okay, Director Wright.
Yes. The finances had been talked several times about it, just to remind everybody that rates were never considered to be used on this project. And so we had several finance presentations about it before we went to this particular situation of bid. Anyway, I think it's wonderful. The operations building over there, that's the courtyard area, right? Correct?
Correct.
Correct. So this isn't just administration building. This is also that whole courtyard out there is going to be moved over here on this one campus to bring everything together. There's going to be areas out there that for public events, that we've designed this so the public could utilize this, certain areas out there for educational purposes, for events that clubs or whatever want to have out there. It's for the community also. I think it's you know what, this 1970 building that we're in right now, we got to get out of this. It's just not capable. It's not efficient. It doesn't have anything that we need for high tech. And I'm just really excited for the staff and for everybody to eventually move over there and have a place they can actually have a really good workplace with the right environment and all the right tools they need to supply services for Mission Springs Water District and its customers.
Robert?
I have nothing.
Ivan?
I would just add to Director Wright's comments of it's definitely something needed. And I think it's going to be something that can last us 50 years or more. And in the last, I mean, it's been talked about since I've been on the board the past 5 years, and the costs continue to increase. So I'd rather see it done sooner than later. I think it's a great plan. And I would just add that our new board members that will be joining us, I'd like to see them involved in that follow-up site to the East Valley. So I don't know if December is too early, or if we can make it work, I'd really like to see them involved. So thank you.
Okay, I have nothing further to add to that. Oh, one comment I'd like to reinforce the fact that this will not be paid for out of the ratepayers' water bill, water rates. So
That was never an option either.
yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you very much.
Moving on to item 18, district holiday schedule. Brian?
Thank you, President Martin, members of the board. We just wanted to talk about our holiday schedule as we get ready due to vacations and things of that nature. We just wanted to show you what our plans are from a staff perspective and just get your basic concurrence on what we're trying to accomplish. One of the things we've done is we've reached out to other water districts, other cities and things like that, and asked them what they do, knowing that we're not going to be doing any shutoffs or anything like that during this time frame. We have a history of not doing that during the holidays. So from that perspective, we just wanted to share with you one quick slide that lays out what we're looking at and the dates and things of that nature. So in this slide, you'll see on Sunday, December 25th, the second line, Columbus would be observed for staff on the following Monday. You have the AB schedules. So we would have half staff here as we typically would on the Fridays, the 23rd, the 30th, and the 6th. And then you see New Year's Day on January 1 on Sunday, so that would be observed on the 2nd. What we're looking to do based on all the requests and vacations and things like that is we're requesting simply just to close the lobby between Christmas and New Year. What we're looking for is all the phones we'll have staff here, both here in the office, and we will also have them engineering and as well as down at the courtyard for water, wastewater, and C&M services. Phone calls will be answered. Voicemail typically after hours. Standby staff will be available for emergencies. Our office staff will report. Again, taking customer calls, processing bills, things like that in the complete year end. And then, of course, the field staff will be doing their usual thing. So no really change to operations. All we're simply doing is we're going to be closing the lobby for that 1 week.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Nancy? Robert? Ivan? Steve?
Thank you.
None? Okay. Moving on to to the consent agenda, item 19, approval of minutes for October 13th, 2022. That was a study session minutes. And for October 17th, 2022, board meeting minutes. Are there any corrections, additions, or comments from the board on those minutes? Seeing none, okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Are we doing the minutes or are we just going to do the consent agenda?
We're doing the minutes. We're doing one at a time.
Okay, I will move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We don't need a roll call vote for that.
Okay, aye.
Yeah. Item 20, register of demands. The register of demands totaling $2,755,301.88. Anything further on that? Brian?
No, I'm sorry. Nothing more to add.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
I'll move to, oops.
Okay,
I'll move to approve item number 20.
okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Apologies. Director Griffith,
Yes.
Director Grasha,
Yes.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Vice President Wright,
Aye.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Moving on to item 21, director's reports. Nobody gave their report on Thursday that I recall. So who wants to go first?
I don't have any.
Okay, Vice President Wright has no report to make. Robert?
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Just I did a lot of stuff. Attended Desert Water Agency meetings. I'll just kind of give you quick dates on October 18th, November 1st, November 8th. And business as usual, but what I found really interesting, which is maybe kind of unfortunate for the organization, is they've had a kind of a run of accidents where fire hydrants have been getting run over, and they're having to repair that. And so I don't know, I've not heard of a lot of that up here or anywhere else. So I kind of feel bad because every meeting there's a report about a broken fire hydrant that someone has run over. So I don't know, maybe bad luck in the Palm Springs area, but attended CVWD Coachella Valley Water District meetings October 25th and also on November 8th. One of the interesting things, I believe, was the October meeting is they're installing a whole new fleet management system, which is very computerized and GPS, and it tracks everything from location, speed, pretty much everything. And the interesting thing, they showed some clips. It does some, they have, I guess, dash cams, and it records, and they've been able to catch people who have caused accidents or had collisions with the water district's vehicles. And it has enabled them to actually get the license plate and track the person down. They've had several hit and runs. So I thought it was really, really interesting. I know they have a lot of territory to cover. So that was a great presentation. And again, I did attend the one on November 8th, and nothing major of note there. Did go to a Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce event at Azure Palm, which was great. If you've not been there, it's a fantastic place. Just a really, really great asset to the community. Also attended the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. It was a joint mixer with Visit Greater Palm Springs at the Coachella Valley History Museum, which, interestingly enough, in one of the rooms there, they have a history of Coachella Valley Water District with lots of great pictures and information. Also just attended the State of the City, and again, want to congratulate Director Sewell for being the Desert Hot Springs Volunteer of the Year. And that's it. So, and just wish everybody a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with your family, and be grateful for everything that we have.
Ivan?
I have two to report on. October 6th, Palm Springs Unified School District, State of the District. I thought it was a good event. There was lots of public officials, including Raul Ruiz, and there was much of the talk was focused around COVID and the different effects it's had on the school district. They're having a hard time with staffing, not so much necessarily the teachers, but a lot of the support staff and things like that. And then they had just received, and they didn't include specific numbers, but just received some testing scores. And test scores, I guess, have dropped significantly since the pandemic. But I guess compared to other school districts across California, Palm Springs Unified, they were doing better than most. And they shared that between 2015 and 2020, they had a good run of increasing their test scores every year. So they're confident that they're going to get those test scores back up, and they're hoping to do so in a short period of time. They also mentioned that field trips are coming back. So hopefully soon we'll be having students back up in Mission Creek. And then October 31st, attended the CVEP Economic Summit. A great event. I think much of the data presented was optimistic for the valley as a whole. And then just about anything that was presented regarding Desert Hot Springs was extremely positive. The biggest one that stood out to me was the crime statistics. They had 3 different categories comparing 2001 to 2022 or 2021. And just about every category in 2001, Desert Hot Springs was the highest in crime. And 2 out of 3 of the categories were the lowest in crime now. And the other category were 3rd lowest out of the 9 cities. So some really positive news. And then another category that they mentioned was for employment. And Desert Hot Springs has seen the highest percentage raise in employment for the time frame 2020 to 2022. So pre and post pandemic. So lots of good news for Desert Hot Springs. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Gracia.
I have no reports.
Okay. On October 4th, Riverside County Supervisors meeting, there was a discussion on a bill up in Sacramento which legalized jaywalking, and apparently they felt that that there was a disproportionate number of citations being issued to minorities, and so they decided the motion was to scrap it. I certainly hope that the death rate for auto pad accidents doesn't significantly go up as a result. They also had a discussion on county staff overtime, which was an increase due to shortage of personnel. That shortage of personnel also resulted in over 600 criminal cases being dismissed or not charged simply because, not due to the merits of the case, but simply because they didn't have judges and staff to prosecute. On the 4th, also attended a city council meeting, nothing to report there. On the 6th, Desert Valley Builders Association legislative meeting. There was a development projects and ordinance issues from local, county, and state officials. It's always an interesting meeting to attend. On the 13th, Desert Valley Builders Association General Membership Luncheon. There's a presentation by Congressman Ken Calvert. On the 18th, the City Council meeting, they passed an adoption of revised user fees, and noticed that the police dispatch center was completed. I was glad to see that. If you've ever called a police department for assistance and everything and have to go through the dispatch center, and I believe it was Cathedral City, this is going to be a welcome change when it gets up and running. On the 18th, Riverside County Board of Supervisors meeting, nothing to report there. On the 19th, Desert Valley Builders Association Public Officials Luncheon. There was a presentation by Peter Nelson, the Coachella Valley Water District Director, on the drought, Colorado River, and the valley's water management plans. On the 20th, Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce, nothing to report there. On the 31st, Coachella Valley Economic Partnership Economic Summit. I attended with Ivan. Ivan's already reported on that, and I had nothing to add. On the 22nd, Cabot's Museum Foundation Board, nothing to report, and that concludes my report. Okay, moving on to the General Manager's report, item 22.
Thank you, President Martin, members of the board. There is a general manager's report within your packet. There are a lot of good things in there. One of the things that I noticed after the comment was made by Director Griffith is there is no fire hydrant being hit last month, but we've had to replace one over the weekend. So we do have our same issues as well as a neighboring agency, but we didn't have one last month. And I believe the the outreach presentation was also made. I have nothing more to add.
Okay. Moving on to district council comments.
Yes, just briefly. First, I wanted to mention there's no closed session today.
Okay.
And then I wanted to go over a couple new pieces of legislation that will impact this board potentially, one most likely and the other potentially. So the first one is SB 1439. And under that legislation, beginning January 1st of 2023, local elected and appointed officials are prohibited from voting on proceedings that involve a permit, license, or other entitlement for use if the party or participant or their agents donated more than $250 to the official in the preceding 12 months. And the term permit, license, or other entitlement is actually defined in the legislation to mean it's actually, it sounds like it's very narrow, but it's not. It's pretty broad. So under the legislation, license, permit, or other entitlement for use means all business, professional, trade, and land use licenses and permits, and all other entitlements for use, including all entitlements for land use, all contracts other than competitively bid labor or personal employment contracts, and all franchises. Also, local elected and appointed officials are prohibited from accepting, soliciting, or directing a contribution of more than $250 from any party participant or a party or participant's agent while a proceeding involving a license, permit, or other entitlement for use is pending before the agency. And local elected and appointed officials are prohibited from accepting, soliciting, and or directing a contribution of more than $250 from any party, participant, or a party or participant's agent for 12 months following the date a final decision is rendered in the proceeding involving a license, permit, or other entitlement for use if the officer knows or has reason to know that the party or participant has a financial interest in the proceeding. But there is a safe harbor provision in the legislation, and under that safe harbor, SB 1439 provides that if an official accepts, solicits, or directs a contribution in the 12 months after a final decision is rendered in a proceeding, a violation may be cured by returning the contribution or the portion of the contribution in excess of the $250 within 14 days of acceptance. However, that safe harbor is only available if the officer did not knowingly and willfully accept, solicit, or direct the prohibited contribution. So, for example, if you had an item that came before you that falls within the definition of this legislation, you're prohibited after acting on that item for a period of 12 months from going out and soliciting a contribution from the participant or the party or the representative, lobbyist, agent of that party. If you knowingly solicit that, then the safe harbor provision doesn't apply. If you receive a contribution unknowingly, you have under the existing rule, you would have 30 days to return that. Does that make sense? Okay. So the other piece of legislation, and if you have any questions about that, let me know. I don't know that that would impact anybody here. I do want to mention that the FPPC just last week issued a ruling that this legislation would not apply retroactively. So it begins January 1st. doesn't apply to this election, but it'll apply from January 1st going forward. A violation is a misdemeanor, though. The other piece of legislation that I wanted to discuss briefly with you is Assembly Bill 2449, and that amends requirements of the Brown Act relating to elected officials teleconferencing into meetings. It goes into effect on January 1st of 2023. The Brown Act previously, as you know, required that if you were going to attend a meeting remotely, you had to have the location that you would be attending from posted on the agenda in advance, so that address would be listed. And then you had to post the agenda at the location you were attending. So if you're on vacation somewhere, staying in a hotel or on business, you'd have to post the agenda on the door of the room that you were attending from. And then you also had to allow the public to attend from that remote location that you were attending from. That's the old rule. That, as we all know, changed during COVID. AB 361, which we're operating under now, expires on February 28th. And that's because it still is in effect if the state were to declare an emergency, but the current emergency expires on February 28th of next year. So AB 249, what does it provide for? It allows a member of a legislative body to attend meetings remotely without having to identify and open up their teleconference location to the public under the following circumstances. First, the legislative body member has just cause or faces emergency circumstances that require them to attend remotely. And it defines what just cause is, and that would be any of the following: childcare or caregiving of a child, parent, grandparent, grandchild, sibling, spouse, or domestic partner that requires them to participate remotely. The second item of just cause would be a contagious illness that prevents them from attending in person. And third would be a need related to a disability not otherwise accommodated. Fourth, travel while on official business of the legislative body or another state or local agency. The member must notify the legislative body of their need to participate remotely as soon as possible and provide the legislative body a general description of the circumstances relating to their need to appear remotely. Just cause cannot be used by an official for more than 2 meetings per calendar year. And then the legislation also defines what emergency circumstances are. And that is defined as a physical or family medical emergency that prevents the member from attending in person. The member must request the legislative body to allow them to participate remotely due to an emergency circumstance as soon as possible, and the legislative body must take action to approve that request. The legislative body shall request a general description of the circumstances relating to the member's need to appear remotely to be given prior to the meeting. This description need not exceed 20 words and must not require the member to disclose any medical diagnosis or disability. If a member of a legislative body attends a public meeting remotely, they must participate through both audio and visual technology. And when action is taken on an item, they must publicly disclose if someone over the age of 18 is in the room with them and their general relationship to that person. So that's my report.
Okay. Vice President Wright, you had a comment or question? I'm sorry, what? Okay. All right. Director Grasha, any questions or comments?
No questions, no comments. Thank you.
Okay. Director Sewell?
On council comments?
Yeah,
or-
council comments.
No question.
No, on council comments?
No comments on his.
Okay. Do you have any comments?
No, thank you for that, because I know that's been pending, and I think people are going to get confused as to what we can and can't. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and there will be things that come up. You know, the ideal is if somebody needs to participate remotely and they have to use the just cause, they're limited again to 2 in a calendar year. They're supposed to give notice to the board as soon as they can. Same with the emergency. And the idea is to put it on the agenda that that person is going to be participating remotely. But if that's not possible and it's not timely, then it would be the first action that you would take in your board meeting, is you would vote to approve their attendance remotely for an
It might
emergency.
be a good idea for you to provide a a document with those things to the board so we can have to refer to it.
Okay, we were working on a sort of cheat sheet that sort of summarizes it in bullet point fashion that we're going to be providing to staff, to Dory and the general manager, but we can also provide that to the board.
All right.
And then if something comes up after January 1st, when these laws go into effect, we're always available to answer any questions.
All right.
It kind of hit me at a question. Is there any punitive issues with this in terms of, let's say someone has already done 3 and then they do a 4th?
If they did 2 and now they want to do another one, they wouldn't be permitted to. It would be a violation of the Brown Act.
Okay. Ivan, any questions or comments? I have nothing, so we'll move on to director's comments. Ivan?
Yeah, I know the results aren't certified and everything, but I do want to just give Nancy a big shout out and thank you for all of her years of service. I can remember way back as a little kid going to water district events and seeing Nancy, and I think there was even a couple years where she was in a dunk tank over here next to the building on the grass. And just as long as I can remember, as long as I'm sure most of the community can remember, Nancy's been here giving back to the community, doing her best here at the water district. It's hard to really quantify all the work you've done over this past 30 years. Groundwater Guardians, all our septic to sewer programs, all your different board positions and nominations from the governor. Nancy has just shown a tremendous dedication to this community and this district, and I'm sure she'll continue to do so. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
We got
Director
Member
Grasha.
Lane.
I have no comments.
Okay. Director Griffith.
I guess I would just kind of echo what Director Sewell said. And I know that I interact with Nancy outside of here in community events. And so I always see her at the community events. Women's Club, I know you're probably still selling tickets for the black and white dinner, but I will see you there. And so I will miss having you sit here. I also want to say, I'm assuming this is Director Grasha's last meeting. I could be wrong on that. Didn't get to serve with him, but want to say good luck on Desert Water Agency, and I'm sure that I will see you there.
Okay, and I have nothing further. Vice President Wright.
Yes, I have a little thing I want to say here. Okay, I just want to let everybody know that I'm very proud of the district, how it is growing, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be part of it over these years. Whatever happens with the election, I will keep my campaign promises to the people of the district. I will continue to advocate for our water district, and our water rights. I will continue to advocate for water quality as a member of the Colorado River Basin Regional Water Quality Control Board. Next year is MSWD's 70th birthday, and I'm looking forward to that celebration. And as Marion had mentioned on Thursday, it will be on February 3rd, 2023 at the Mission Springs Park, and more details will be coming forth soon. I would like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. We really do have a lot to be thankful for. Unlike many people in our Eastern Coachella Valley and Imperial Valley neighbors, we have safe, clean, and reliable water coming from our taps. They do not. So I'd like to thank Mission Springs Water District for your reliable water services, because they really do make life a whole lot better. So thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
So I have one last comment to make. Little did I know that when I was in high school that and college, that there was somebody in my same neighborhood growing up, going to the same places I was. And we both grew up in Long Beach in the Belmont Shore area and went to all the things at the same time. So to arrive here and be on this board with you, it's been 12 years for me. And you have been just a tremendous inspiration. What you've contributed to this community and in terms of your service is just unbelievable. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You did an amazing job, and I look forward to your continued work on the water district's behalf.
Thank
And
you. And I just want to say too that it was a pleasure working with you guys and you all. I've always had a lot of support from the board. I'm actually been the only female for quite some time now, so it's just been a real pleasure, you guys.
oh, good, good.
And I wish all the other board members I served with were here so I could say the same thing to them.
Okay, all right. And with that, if there's nothing else from Brian, anything further? Anything from Kurt? No, nothing? Also, happy Thanksgiving. That want to express that thoughts, and I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.